Hello, hello, hello. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the stream. I am back after a little time off. I have been busy in the lands between of Elden Ring, but I'm happy to report that as of 3 hours ago, which was cutting it pretty close, I have now completed the game. So I'll get a little bit more into that. And I'm feeling good about that. So, the con man, what's going on? How are you? But yeah, I've been busy with that. I've actually been on a kind of sobriety tip right now. I'm trying to not be a degenerate for a little while. So hopefully that'll mean more painting and more painting done and more hobby time, because basically I'm very out of shape right now. I was very in shape at the start of the year, and in the last like 3 months I basically like completely let myself go physically, and I feel really bad about it. So I'm gonna be spending some more time in the gym and trying to eat more right and drink less, and that's obviously always the bigger issue with me, is like my partying. So I'm going to be cutting back on that as well, which hopefully means more time to stream, and hopefully I'll have some Friday and Saturday night streams as well to keep me out of trouble moving forward. So that's going to be exciting as well. I hope everyone else is doing well. Tuning in. But yeah, I'm still working on these Rangers. I think last week I streamed and I basically said there's a very good chance I don't even touch these until the next time I stream, and that is indeed the case. So let's switch over to see what we're going to be working on today. We got some ELDAR Rangers. So where we're at with these models, guys, basically I've done kind of the main blocking. So basically I have blocked in all the major colors. So we got the green, the gray on the cloak, the purple on the inside, and that's kind of like the major colors. And now I'm going to start with the highlighting. And basically working through all the different colors. They look quite, I mean, they don't look very great right now, but hopefully they will. We're going to do the armor today, so I'm going to take you guys kind of through how to do the armor. That's going to be exciting. And my goal is basically before the end of the session, there's not a lot of armor. You can tell that there's actually not a ton of armor. My goal is by the end of today, at least the armor gets done, and then I'll feel like there's some progression on them. And now that I am done Elden Ring, and I'm not obsessing anymore, thankfully. I'm going to try to get a bunch more painting done this week. My goal is to maybe have these guys done by, well, there's one snag right now, which is the bases that I ordered. They were shipped from Poland like mid-February from Micro Art Studios, and they still haven't arrived. So it's been like 3 weeks, I guess. Polish post is notoriously slow, especially like with everything that's going on right now. I'd imagine, I mean, hopefully everything gets here okay, but obviously the world is in a bit of a crazy place. So but yeah, let's I'm gonna start getting into these. So basically what I've done is I've base coated all the armor in a mix of these two colors. So it's about a 50% jade, 50% pale green, so it's kind of like a dark green, and now I'm going in with like a 1/3 2/3 mix to brighten it up, and I'm going to kind of work my way up all the way to pale yellow. So that's the lineup, basically the jade, bright yellow, and then bright pale green, and then the pale yellow. So those are kind of like the main colors for the armor. So I'll be working up that as we go, and then I'll give you guys a few other yeah, and we'll just chat and kind of hang out. Let me know if you guys are working on a project, what you guys are working on. I got some thoughts on like some of the new ELDAR stuff, so it's starting to see I always forget that I'm streaming sometimes. I'm like, I'm gonna paint it over here, like off camera. We have some new ELDAR. I guess the new ELDAR are now live pretty much into the. I think this will be probably the first weekend, or maybe next weekend will be the first weekend that we're gonna see them in the tournament circuit. So I'm excited to see what lists kind of emerge. It seems like I'm hearing a lot of talk that the Harlequins side of the book is quite strong, which is nice, but also kind of discouraging for me, because I didn't really want to have to add a bunch of, like, obviously I want to be able to add Harlequins at some point in the future, but I didn't want to have to add them right away to play a competitive list. I was hoping to play like kind of pure craft worlds to start and kind of build up my craft worlds side of my list first. And then down the road, when I've kind of got a pretty good craft worlds collection painted, add in some Harlequins, and then even potentially do some Drakari units so that I could do like a, because I'd like to run a Ynnari army at one point. I really like the Incarn model. It's one of my favorite models. It'll be really cool to be able to run like an Incarn army. And so, hey, how's it going? So basically, I'm hoping that, so I'm a little bit sad if like it ends up being that the best craft world list is like majority Harlequins with just ELDAR shooting. I have a feeling like that's probably going to be the case, like Harlequin close combat with ELDAR shooting. I know the Void Weavers, people are saying that they're like super undercosted right now, and they're quite strong with all their different rules and stuff. And generally, it seems to me that the Harlequin rules are strong, at least a patrol of them anyways. I think the one issue with Harlequins is that like it's just hard to build a 2,000 points of army. Well, sorry, it's not hard to do it because obviously people had fairly successful Harlequin armies in the past, but it's just very limited, right? Like you don't have a ton of options. But I do think it was the right move to kind of merge them into craft worlds, and just kind of have them in one book. It never made sense that they had it was like 6 data sheets or something like that. It never really made sense to me to begin with that they had their own book, but especially given like some of the other armies that don't have books. So but yeah, so I'm excited for that. We'll see. I definitely, I'm looking forward to painting. I know some people like hate the diamond pattern, but I'm very much looking forward to doing some like freehand work on the Harlequins. Be a fun project. Should push my painting. I can't see really what's. Let me know what you guys are working on, if you're working on anything. So as I said, I have finished Elden Ring. It was a good game. Obviously, my final playtime I think was 93 hours, and I finished the game at level 150, which I think definitely like I'm not like so. The nice thing about these games, the nice thing about like the From Software games is like if you're not like great at them, you can basically like grind out some levels and make things a little bit easier for yourself. So I tried the final boss like I think around level like 140, and it wasn't like amazing. It was like quite difficult. And then I went and I kind of grinded out 10 more levels, which, and I say grind out, but like literally like spent like 30 minutes farming like a few more levels. Generally, it's something I don't like to do in the games. I don't like to like farm levels, but From Software games are notoriously difficult, and so I wanted to finish the game because I wanted to get back to painting. So like I could have maybe spent a way more time on the final boss, and obviously I won't spoil anything. I could have maybe spent like 3-4 hours on the final boss, just like at back to back attempts and like trying, but I decided rather than do that, I'm just gonna go get stronger and come back, and then sure enough, like we got him. So I'm glad that that's kind of over now. I have a very like one-track personality when it comes to kind of games and stuff, so like it's impossible for me to like, it would have been impossible for me to like paint half the day and then like play a little bit, like, so I really wanted to just finish it and have it be done with so that I could start painting again, because like that was the thing that was basically driving my lack of painting was gaming. So as far as like my overall thoughts now that it's all over, I would say my favorite From Software game is Sekiro. In the end, I think, sorry, I guess let me rephrase that. My most memorable From Software game is Sekiro. it's probably the most story rich of the From Software games, as far as like a very very like distinct narrative, and like there's like a lot more like story elements. I like the faster pace of combat, the more aggressive style of combat a little bit more as well in Sekiro, and the movement. Like the horse is, I think they had a horse in Sekiro for the first time. Was it Sekiro? I can't remember. But basically, the thing I really liked about Elden Ring and like was the world is like beautiful. It's actually probably one of the easier games as far as From Software games, partly because I think there is that option to kind of, if you're stuck at a point, to kind of go away and come back like stronger. So, and then also you can basically summon like really strong like AI. They're called spirit ashes. They're basically like creatures and stuff that you can summon to battle. And there's one particular called the Mimic, and he's like really really strong. I think he's like too strong. It basically just creates a version of yourself, so you can like whatever gear you need, you put it on him, and he'll cast your spells and do your. But when you get him to like super upgraded, he's like very very strong. And he was like very very instrumental in like having a smooth gameplay experience. But the thing is, like, I don't mind, and I know there's a lot of like get good Dark Souls like hardcores. I don't really care. Like for me, it's like those tools are there to be used by they're put in the game from the game developer. They're a massive part of the game, and so people that like kind of besmirch you because you're using like the in-game like tools, whether it's summoning other players or whether it's like potions or consumables or whatever, I think are kind of stupid. It's kind of silly, especially because they're there to be used. The games can, like, you know, From Software games notoriously don't have difficulty settings, right? But the thing is, they do have difficulty settings. It's just not an explicit slider, right? There's different ways to play the game, and the game kind of lets you choose how hard or easy you want to make it. So if you don't want to if you don't want to summon and you want to do everything on your own, you can do that, and it's no less legitimate. And I think that's the biggest thing is like the game is, you know, there's a lot of people that I don't think would be able to get past these games, myself included, and probably some of them without some like using all the tools. I will say though, other reasons Sekiro is so memorable for me was because it was probably the hardest Souls game for me. Like with Elden Ring, for me, the why I really enjoyed it was due to the world and the game world itself. Whereas the bosses, I think, in Elden Ring were like, there was only like one or two bosses that I was like very very like they gave me like a ton of trouble. But for the most part, like manageable, and like always felt like there was progression. If you've ever played Sekiro and you've like fought like if you ever played Sekiro and like fought like Sword Saint Ishin or Allfather or the giant fucking gorillas, you realize that like those, you don't get summons, right? Like you got to beat those bosses like one-on-one, and it's like, I think there's something about, and that's kind of I think why a lot of people like these games is like, for me, I enjoyed playing the game, I enjoyed beating the game. I don't need it to be like mind-bendingly like soul-crushing hard, right? So I'm fine to like kind of like, I guess, play easy mode. It's part of the reason I do like games like Witcher 3 a little bit more, is because for me, ultimately, as much as I love RPGs and action RPGs, story is like such a big part of why I like them. And the story of Elden Ring is very like broad in scope. Hey man, what's going on? When are we gonna play EDH then? What's EDH? But yeah, so it was good. I definitely like my definitive Souls tier list is Sekiro number 1, Elden Ring number 2, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2. Bloodborne and Demon Souls I don't count because they're only on consoles and consoles suck. Actually, a lot of people also gave me they said I was playing hard mode because I beat the whole game with mouse and keyboard, and I have like an Xbox controller, right? Oh yeah, nice. Whenever you want, man. I'm down, Tim. I played the whole game with mouse and keyboard, and people said I was like being like a masochist because they say it's so much easier on controller, right? The game it's like smoother, there's like more buttons. But like, as someone that's basically played exclusively PC games for the last like 15 years, I'm actually awful at controllers. I have an Xbox controller for my PC, I have a PlayStation controller for my PlayStation 5, and like my PlayStation 5, like I tried playing Bloodborne because I got Bloodborne on it, which is a Souls game, and it was like so hard. It was like so hard to get used to the buttons because like I'm used to, like, I'm old school, right? So I'm used to a D-pad and like an ABC, right? Like my thumbs work, that's it. But modern games, you have triggers, multiple triggers here, you got 4 buttons, 2 directional pads plus a D-pad. You gotta like move these at the same time as pressing all these, and like you gotta be using like 6 different fingers at once just to play the game. And like, I don't know if I'm just too old, but like literally like my brain just like it freezes and I can't do it, or I just need a lot more practice before I'm like ready to get into that point. I do have Final Fantasy VII Remake on my PlayStation 5, which I'm like probably like 15 hours into, and I kind of stopped playing it because I don't know, I got busy and like I never got a chance to go back. I would like to finish that game soon. I still haven't finished it because obviously I really like Final Fantasy games, but it's also out on PC now, so I'm very tempted to just pick it up on PC and play the PC port because I don't know, I feel like the graphics will be better and like the gameplay will be better, and like I can get all the cute Tifa mods and put her in all sorts of outfits, the waifu. So that's kind of like my thought right now. There's also from Square Enix is also coming out with a Final Fantasy Soldiers of Origin, which is like their version of Dark Souls essentially. It's like, I don't know if it's going to be obviously as like intense and hard. It's a Square Enix game, it probably won't be, but it is an action RPG in the style of Dark Souls, like that kind of third person isometric action RPG, and it's Square Enix and it's Final Fantasy, so I'll probably pick it up. It'll probably have a really good story, so I'm excited to play that through at some point, because I've never like all the Final Fantasy games have great stories, and that's, I think, like I can imagine myself liking that game a lot more than Elden Ring in the end. My final like thought on Elden Ring, and I kind of had this debate with, I kind of brought it up previously, but now that I've finished the game, I can definitively say this. The biggest problem with the game is the UI is funky and kind of out of date for 2022 PC game. So like I expect some pretty high quality like quality of life features on a PC game, whether it's like being able to, like, so a simple thing is there's certain keys you can't remap. They're like hard coded on your keyboard. So if you're playing on a keyboard, like you can't remap certain buttons, which is like doesn't make any sense at all. Like you have a keyboard, I have a and there's certain buttons like you just literally can't remap them. So, and that, it doesn't make any sense. Like there's no reason that would have to happen. There's a lot of like UI issues as far as like the game does a really bad job of like giving you information that like you can get, but it's just like annoying to get. So to give you an example, like there's certain items when you equip them, it'll tell you like what they do, because like when you're in the equipment page, it'll show you half your stats, but it only shows half your stats. So if the item in particular affects the other stats, you don't see the effect of it. So you're already seeing the effect of items on your stats. Yeah, I don't even know how to do that, man. I don't even know what that means. Slash keyboard. I don't know if you can do that. Anyways, long story short, well, not long story short, a few other thoughts on it. There's like obscurity. So one of the things that I like to do is after I, especially these games, when I kind of get to the very last final boss area, like I'm like, okay, there's one boss left, and then I beat the game. That's when I kind of pause and I want to go back and finish. I'm a completionist. I managed to get 88% of my theme achievements. I'm only missing 4, and like 3 of them are related to like alternative endings, and then the 4th is for getting all the other achievements. So if I go back and I replay and I get the other endings, I can get the 100% completion. So I did do every single side boss and everything like that. I have Witcher. I tried to replay Witcher 3, man. I reinstalled it on my computer. But like I don't know. It was like too hard to like get started. I haven't I played it when it released, and I haven't played the DLCs yet, but I'll definitely maybe give it another look. There's just too many new games coming out, and like I don't game that much outside of like obviously like Elden Ring I played, but I'm not normally like playing a ton of PC games. So like a game will come out every like 3-4 months. The other thing I was going to mention, so after I got to the kind of final boss area, I knew there was final boss because it's like very like obvious that it's final boss. I spent about like I don't know, 6-7 hours going back and like finishing quest lines, like basically doing all the stuff that I didn't finish. And there's a lot of quest lines that like are just so obscure that like I don't know how normal people, like a solo spoiler free player that doesn't play online, because one of the things with playing online is players can write little notes throughout the world. So like if you're running around and you're playing online, you'll see this white writing. It's like every Souls game, and oftentimes that white writing will hint you at like something. So it'll say like a dungeon ahead, or secret passage ahead, or quest ahead, or something like that, right? I don't know if you just played offline solo. So if you were like playing this as a complete single player game, which is what I did. I don't play it online because I don't want to have to deal with like online griefers, people coming into my fucking game and like PvPing me when I'm trying to just like play the game. Then basically some of the quest lines I think are like absurdly obscure to the point of like not like very, very few people would ever finish them. And I think that's a shame, because I feel like there was a lot of really good content in the game that after, when I got to the end, like, and I played almost 100 hours, right? So sorry, I played about almost 90 hours first on my solo playthrough, and then the last 10 hours I went and did a bunch of like cleanup, housekeeping, finishing quests, figured out what I missed, just like reading walkthroughs and stuff, because at that point I was like at the end. And there's a lot of shit I missed, right? And that was after 90 hours of playing. And the thing is, like, I don't want to play this game for 300 hours trying to achieve every lost thing. like, and because it's specifically Elden Ring, because of the way the world is set up, it being an open world, it's really like unclear what you're even supposed to do half the time, and like where you're supposed to go, or how to get certain achievements, because the game is just so huge. At least with like Dark Souls and stuff, because it was more of a linear experience, there was very limited like places like you could like be searching. But to just give you a spoiler-free example of in Elden Ring, there's like a certain quest where you have to like basically find a person, and it doesn't really tell you, like, it says like, oh, this person was like last seen in this area, and the area is like the size of like a massive part of the game. It's like a massive geographical space, and the only way that that's the only hint you get is like, this person was last seen in this area. And the only way that you would find them is literally you have to go into this like obscure corner of the zone and like hit a wall, that's invisible, that's like not obviously invisible. There's no other like things around it that would like indicate, hey, maybe there's something over here. There's no like indicators. And then like it reveals an invisible wall, and then you have to go through this wall, and then there's like a crazy deep complicated dungeon, and then at the very bottom in like some obscure other corner there's like a secret room that's like also secret, and then the NPC is in that room. And it's like, for someone to find that on their own is like it would take them 20, 30, 40 hours of scouring every inch of the thing. They'd have to be hitting every little rock, every little thing to see if it's a secret passage. Like the zones are so huge. So it's like, there's just like a, yeah. So anyways, so I think the game could be a little bit better at giving you just a slight bit more direction. I don't want quest journals. I don't want like fucking markers or like question marks or anything. I know a lot of people like to be hyperbolic with that stuff. I just think the game would do a better job of giving you more. Now it doesn't have to give you locations, but just more clues, like whether they're environmental clues or just to like finish quests. Because one of the other things of the game is, as you progress the game, certain quest prompts or certain things, like time actually passes. So if you missed something through the course of playing the game, it's very hard to go back and fix it. And because it's open world, it's very easy to like unintentionally progress the game. So you end up at the very end of the game, like one of the achievements I missed was getting like all the legendary weapons. But there's a point in the game where if you go past that point, you can't actually go back to that place to get the weapon that I missed. So now I can never get that achievement unless I like reload a save from like 50 hours ago, which is a shame, right? Like, and you don't know that that's a thing. Like, you don't know that's a trigger. And I guess maybe some people like that. It gives it replay value, whatever. For me, it's not really my thing. I usually like to play a game once and kind of just be done with it. I don't need like tons of replay value, personally. But anyways, overall, happy. I hope there's some DLCs and expansions in the future. I'll definitely pick them up. I think if you don't like Dark Souls games or Soul style games, you won't like this game. There's nothing super, besides the open world, there's nothing super different about it. It's very it's very similar in that respect. I also have James, Sekiro is really fun. Sekiro is my favorite Souls game, definitely, and it's mostly because of the story. Like there's much more story and like than traditional Souls games, which are just like, traditional Souls games, the story is, hey, you're a piece of shit, and like we're gonna drop you off in this world full of like demigods and monsters, and you got to work your way up from being a piece of shit to like being a god. That's the storyline of every Souls game. Sekiro is like, you're actually like a character. There's like a specific character that you are, and it's like a family story of like that spans the whole game. And it's like this, like it's a very traditional like tale of like revenge and like this, that, the other thing. Fallen Order is really good, Tim. Definitely play it, man. That's actually one of my favorite. It's funny playing that after like, I think I played it after like Sekiro, and it's like, it's very easy, obviously, because it's like I think it's Respawn Entertainment makes it. I love it. It was really fun because it's Star Wars. There's some really cool moments in the game, like story moments, but again, it's much more story driven. It does have that action RPG sense, and it is definitely on the higher end of the difficulty scale. I think there actually might even be a difficulty slider in the game. I'm not sure, but it does have that kind of like dungeon crawler adventure feel of like traditional Souls games. I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to Fallen Order 2 when that comes out. So but I also have Dragon Age Inquisition on my computer, which I've never played. I don't know if any of you guys have played it. So James, I don't think he actually like, wrote it. What he basically did is they brought him in, like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, they have like EPs on movies. He kind of came in at the very start, and he kind of helped with some of the world building. So he kind of set up the world, the overall like here's kind of like the overall world, but the team from Software did most of the actual like storyline and kind of what happens. George R. R. Martin basically helped with the world building. Like he built like the themes and like maybe some of the visuals and like some of the the Elden Ring, right? Like that was his like grand idea, this thing called the Elden Ring, right? Which I'm still actually not quite sure what it was at the end of the game, to be honest. So maybe that's not a good thing. But yeah, the thing is, From Software games, they never have like, they have individual like some of the quests have stories, right? But it's like very like, they're very brief. Like you can run through a whole quest line, a major quest line in the game, and let's say there's 10 NPCs, right? And each NPC will only have like 1 or 2 lines of dialogue to progress the quest. So they're not like story rich. There is a story, but it's not story rich, right? I was making this comparison to, I was trying to explain this. I'll get your question in a sec. I was trying to explain this to someone. Like when I played Final Fantasy X, which is like my all-time favorite Final Fantasy, PlayStation 2. By the end of the game, I was like basically crying. Like the story was like so intense. You fall in love with the characters. Final Fantasy 14 was the same, right? Even though it's an MMO, the story in Final Fantasy 14 is fucking amazing. And by the end of it, you're like, it's like it hits you hard. You're like, man, these characters, like you just really get connect to these characters, and you've been on this journey with them, and like you see their struggles and their pain, and they're like, they go through a lot and transform. From Software games are not like that. You start as a piece of shit. Everyone, you don't really get that. You don't get that attachment, right? You die thousands of times in these games, right? And it's like, okay, like my Tarnished is what they're called in Elden Ring. My Tarnished died thousands of times, and in the end, I didn't really care like about that character that I played the game as, right? Because it didn't go through a lot, compared to say like Final Fantasy or something, right? Ethno, to answer your question, you didn't luck out. It is actually like a fairly common phenomenon. I don't know if like, it is a fairly common phenomenon for varnishes to, I guess, I don't want to say smooth out, but they kind of can help with the final finish on certain paints, like, and help kind of blend things together a little bit, because of the fact that sometimes the chalkiness or what you're describing on models is due to like the mediums and stuff in the model, and like the different way light reflects off different like colors and pigments. And so when you do a varnish, it kind of equalizes everything, and it can kind of remove that effect, if that makes sense. But it's definitely like a known thing that varnish often can help kind of smooth out and or make your paint jobs look better. What kind of varnish are you using? That's no. What brand? I find generally with matte varnish that happens. Anyway, so that's my Elden Ring review. I'm glad the game's over and done with. I'm gonna probably I'm back to Final Fantasy 14 right now, and I'm gonna be maybe starting either Dragon Age Inquisition soon if I want to do some gaming. Because the thing with Final Fantasy is like, I kind of log in, I do my raids, I do my dailies, and then I log out. It's not like there's not like a ton going on like where I'm spending hours on it. but I'm excited for that. Soldiers of Origin, as I said, looks pretty good. Maybe I'll pick up Final Fantasy VII. Lots of games, guys. Too many games. Yeah, I've never used the Army Painter Satins or Army Painter Varnishes. I've only ever used the Vallejo ones are the ones I use the most right now because they're available in spray can where I get. But I mean, Army Painter is a decent brand, so I can't imagine it's too bad. Oh. So you can see, so I don't know if you can tell on mine, but my layers are a little bit rough right now. That's okay because I am gonna go. I kind of forgot how I painted these because it took me so long to do the first one, the test model. So once I've kind of done the kind of initial highlights, I'm gonna go back and kind of smooth everything out. Also, the bases that I ordered for these are like still not here, which is kind of frustrating. They're coming from Poland. I think I mentioned that, and it's like it's taking so long. I'm checking my mail every day, and they're like, I'm like, where's my bases? I do want to get the bases done. No, I haven't tried it. What kind of game is it? I haven't even really heard about it, to be honest. I don't know much about it. Roguelike? What's roguelike? Like I know there's a game called Rogue, and that's what you're referring to. It's like that style of game, but I don't think I've actually played Rogue. So what style of games are roguelike? It reminds me of one of it doesn't remind me. I just when you said roguelike, it reminded me of oh. I've never heard of the game. I've never played a game like that. Is that what roguelike games are? I don't know if you guys ever remember the game Thief. There's like 2 or 3 of them. I really like that game. I remember like the first Thief when it came out, like many years ago, and it was one of those games where like, yeah, like it was a lot more. It was like stealth and like subterfuge and like sneaking around and stuff. I really like that game. It was definitely. I don't know if it was. I think it had like 2 sequels. You had like different types of arrows and like. I just like Thief because it was like, it kind of broke the mold. Like you could still obviously fight people, but like it broke the mold on. It was like a lot of problem solving and like puzzles. Like the, yeah, like the way to actually like beat the mission wasn't to like brute force it. It was like always like to do it like finesse. And even if like you could brute force some of the stuff, like you obviously always tried like the finesse route. I really like that game. Yeah, blackjacking. Yeah, that was the best part. And you could drag their bodies and stuff. Hide their bodies in like dumpsters and stuff. What was a game? I'm trying to think. I think maybe Cyberpunk was like that. We could like dump bodies in dumpsters. I enjoyed Cyberpunk. It wasn't my favorite game. Like, I enjoyed the storyline. The actual gameplay, I basically just played it like Dark Souls, or like because I don't love sci-fi as a setting generally. Most sci-fi settings I find a little bit too like I don't know. There's just like, obviously I don't hate them, but if I'd always pick like a medieval, more high fantasy than sci-fi. And I played all of Cyberpunk with a katana. Like, I barely shot. I think I shot a gun in like the first like 20 minutes when like that's all I had. But as soon as I got a katana in Cyberpunk, I literally just played a sword wielding, like I played it like a close combat hack and slash. I didn't shoot, and I just like rushed things and it was like, the katana was like disgusting. Like, you would like one shot half the characters and like dismember them. It was like so good, like OP good. There's a few of the, and then there's certain like enhancements you can get that would make like your katana like just absolutely brutal. And like, people wouldn't even hit me because I'd just be like, you'd like rush them so fast. You like be on top of them in like 2 seconds, and you just, it's so strong, right? The close combat. So you just hack things apart, right? And I just found it so much easier than shooting. Like, shooting, I got to aim, and like, you know, things are moving around. Katana was like fucking, it was OP, man. My one thing I will say about Elden Ring 2 is there is a way to like later in the game to respec your character. So like reset. What does respec even stand for? Reset specializations? Is that where that word came from? Respec? Like, I know respec is like re-specify. Like, I don't know what it's short for, to be honest. We just call them respecs, I guess, or respecs in gaming. I don't know what it actually like was shorthand for. But you can re-specialize, or whatever it stands for, in the game. But like, I think I re-specialized like 8 times, not because like I was playing the game 8 different builds, but because like, the thing is, there's so many different weapon types in Elden Ring, and like so many cool like different things that like you want to try them out and just to see kind of what they're like. And I just wish there was, especially late game, I wish there's an ability to do that more, because you accumulate like all these like crazy weapons and like spells and like items and stuff, but a lot of them you can't use because you're obviously a certain build. And I would have loved to have been able to like, and the game doesn't really tell you or let you like test things, so to speak, without like respecking. So I ended up respecking like 6 times to try 6 completely different builds. Like, I started the game mostly sword and board, because I'm just like, I'm an oaf, and I like to just hit things with the big sword behind a shield. Like, that's my jam. And then I slowly went into like the kind of almost like a paladin route. So I started like pumping up faith, which is like it's like the prayer stat for incantations, which is like kind of like spells but slightly different. That was what I finished the game with. But I tried out like some dexterity builds, which were like super light armor, like with katanas. I tried out a few magic builds with like really high, because I found some like super OP like spells, and so I wanted to try them out. I hated it. It was like, so it sucked. And I tried out a few other like builds, but then I ended up going back to my original my like kind of faith strength dex build, I guess would be the way to describe it, which was like heavy armor, prayers, and then I had a crazy sword that like basically the weapon power was like a giant flaming arc of fireballs. It was like super OP. But I like feeling good, and I like feeling OP in these games. And even though I was like probably over leveled, even though I had like OP stats and OP like items. The final boss, it still took me like a good like two or 3 hours of like attempts to finish it. Like it wasn't easy. It wasn't like I walked in and one shot it, right? It still took me like 2 or 3 hours of like practice and like getting the move sets down and getting the figuring out like but then I ended up trivializing it because I found a buff, because like that's kind of what you do, right? Like I'd like do a few attempts and I'd be like, that didn't work out well, so I would go back to the I'd see what other tools I had. So that's one of the things I like with these games, is like the game gives you a lot of tools, and so like there's 30 or 40 different spells, right? There's different like amulets and stuff you can equip, and so I would constantly be going back and like trying out different like incantations and getting different items and stuff, seeing okay, like, will this work well on this boss? And I ended up finding this incantation that basically, like, I'd say not almost trivializes it, but like made it significantly easier, because it like buffs resistance of like the one damage type that the boss is really good at to a crazy level. And so by the time I went back to like do my final run, the boss like was barely like doing anything. Like it was like it was like buffed to the max on like my one resistance. I just like jacked it up, and it was like I'd get hit and it was like 10% versus like 60% of my HP, which makes it like infinitely easier. So but definitely a good game. I would recommend. Horizons Forbidden West also came out with I think that's consoles though. I don't play consoles. Gross. Even though I have a PS5 that I've played for like 1 hour. Someone didn't like my my ranking of From Software games. All right, what's next? Get my test model. A lot more shade on the shoulder pad. Mid-tone. Wash. You can see here, I'm just trying to color match these, like the two shoulder pads. There's a lot more like low tone, I guess, in the middles. Kind of going back in with my the mid-tone there. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, has anyone seen the new Batman yet? I'm curious. Anyone's seen it? I was supposed to go this week, but my plans got canceled. And if you have seen it, how is it? Great. I wanted to go to the VIP. There's like a VIP theater in Vancouver, but it's like obviously sold out for the first week or whatever. I'm just going in with like a very, very thin, you can see how thin it is on my thumb there. Basically, it's like a kind of a mid-dark tone of the green. And I'm just trying to kind of blend, kind of glaze over this area. And that's going to help kind of bridge the gap. Kind of bring that back down a little bit because I went a little bit too light there. Hopefully it match the other one a little bit better. Thankfully, these models don't have a ton of armor. The Dire Avengers took forever. Armor. These are are mostly Cloak, and Cloak is fairly fast to paint once you get a groove. I haven't read much about it, to be honest, the new Batman. Like, I've obviously know like Robert Pattinson's in it, and I know, but I haven't like really been paying attention to it. But it looks sweet. No, I've never been a huge DC comic fan. I've always been more of a Marvel guy, to be honest. Growing up, I like was a Marvel kid, like X-Men cards and X-Men TV show and X-Men comics. We used to play when I was in like grade 3 in elementary school. We used to play X-Men in like the schoolyard, and I used to always be the Silver Surfer. That was like my X-Men that I was, and we would like run around and everyone would pretend we're mutants and like just like zap each other and like chase each other and stuff like that. And Silver Surfer is like, think about it, it was like 95, right? So Silver Surfer, like in the early 90s. So Silver Surfer wasn't like this big popular character. Like that was like the obscure weird character that I liked. I don't even know why I liked them. I just because like in a surfboard maybe. It was cool. I don't really know why I like Silver Surfer, but him and Cyclops, obviously. I think most kids like Cyclops. But Cyclops is a bit of a dork. I got a raid in about an hour. Savage stuff. So one thing I will say, so I've been playing Final Fantasy 14, kind of raiding, and I don't know if you guys have ever like raided in an MMO, but it's definitely like a very weird culture. The raiding scene. It's quite toxic in a lot of ways. I know a lot of people like say the Final Fantasy community is like so amazing and so perfect, but it's definitely like the raiding parsing community is definitely like, I don't know, it can be very, very toxic, and like it's not all that it's cracked up to be. I think a lot of people like have this like false sense that like everyone that plays Final Fantasy are like angels, but not true. I'm definitely not an angel. Definitely not. Oh, Gambit too. Fuck, man, I forgot about Gambit. Yeah, honestly, dude, Hekon, I think I'm getting too old for it. Like, maybe I've just done too much drugs, or like my brain is just too degenerated. But like, I feel physically, like, challenged. Like, I feel like it's so hard compared to like what I remember. And like, obviously raiding is harder. Like, it's a lot different beast these days in like modern games compared to like when I raided like in EverQuest and stuff or back in the day. But like, the thing is, I just think I don't have the patience for like or the like drive to like play at that level. Final Fantasy, like the highest tier of rating is called Savage, and it's like, it's quite difficult. It's quite like intense, and the thing is, because the groups are so small, like you're only rating like 3-person groups or 8-person groups, sorry. There's a lot of blame to go around, so like it's really easy to like, you can't really carry people. Not to say that I want to be carried, but like it's very like obvious when like someone's fucked up, and so there's a lot of feel bads, because if there's one person that like is not getting the mechanics of the raid, it basically like fucks everyone, right? Whereas like some games, I guess, with like larger raid sizes, you definitely have a bit more I guess leniency on that kind of stuff. I loved Gambit from that cartoon. Other one, Mon Ami. I'm excited. That comic, that X-Men cartoon is coming back like exactly as it was with like the original voice cast. I don't know if you guys remember seeing that announcement, but I'm really excited for that. Yeah. That's a little bit different though, because it's like generally one-on-one, right? In like MMOs, like you're supposed to be like a tight-knit group. You're like there to support each other, like cheerlead and all that bullshit, right? It's not really true. I remember playing NHL 94 was like the game that I played. That was like I had that for my Sega Genesis. It was one of the first games I had. Oh, that's cool. Oh wow, man, that's intense. I didn't know that was a thing. So like it was like basically real hockey, but like virtual. Like if you're bad at your virtual hockey, you'd get cut just like in real hockey. Man, NHL 94 is fucking amazing. One thing I will say though, like, I'm generally not a huge sports games guy. Like I don't love sports games. I think they're kind of like lame. Obviously NBA Jam is a classic and will forever have a place in my heart, and NHL 94 as well. That sounds really toxic, James. I would not want to do that. Could you play goalie, like just goalie? What do you see if you're just the goalie? Like, do you see from the goalie's point of view, or do you like actually see like does it follow the puck? Also, that must be like hilarious. I always imagine like, you know how like in those games like everyone just chases the puck, like defense, offense doesn't really matter. Like unless the AI is playing, was it just like everyone just dogpiling on the puck? I imagine. That's cool. I played quite a few online Blood Bowl leagues. Those were fun during COVID with a bunch of the guys out of California, like Salty John and stuff. Those guys started there's an online it's still going too. There's like a new version of it, but it's basically like an online Blood Bowl league. That was really fun. I love Blood Bowl. Probably one of my favorite Games Workshop games of all time. Like both favorite and like most rage inducing somehow. I managed to be both. Yeah, I can imagine. There's like set plays and stuff. A little bit of just like I'm gonna bring the green a little bit darker there. Get it a bit more matching the original. It's always hard when you do models like that test model I painted quite some time ago, and now I'm kind of going back and I'm doing these, so it's always like interesting trying to match it. Be a little frustrating sometimes. Okay. And then you know there's one that like looks different slightly. almost there, guys. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see. That one. Look pretty similar. The top, like the shoulders. That's kind of the main drawing point. So I want to make sure that that part matches. The only thing is I'm missing is a little edge highlight of just the pure yellow. No. Very edge. Just a bit more. There we go. I mean, obviously we're looking at it super close, but like from tabletop distance, I think they all match pretty well. This one seems to have a little bit more of the deep green, so I'm just gonna give it one more like pass over with this. Just make a little glaze here. I gotta get some Lamian medium. Blend it in a bit. I'm really worried about these guns breaking. Definitely gonna happen. Oh yeah, I think what I did for mine is I painted the I can't remember, are the linens separate, like the front fabric piece? I definitely did that for the for my rubrics. I definitely painted the bolters separate, and then the linens, the front linen separate, and then the backpacks I generally paint separate just because I find they get in the way. I hated paint, like Thousand Suns, like so painful to paint, man. So time consuming. There was a point when I was painting those like Thousand Suns where I was just like, I was just so done with chaos, painting chaos right now, given like how much I've done in general. How do I like these? Looks a little rough. Is it hair? That's why there's a fucking hair right on there. I don't know why I always have like weird hairs and stuff in my fucking paints. Harry. Yeah, I did that too. I kept my weapon arm separate. It just makes it easier to access, you know? All right, there we go, guys. Armor all done. Boom. So kind of progress. So what I'm gonna work on next for next stream, or hopefully by next stream, I'll have the I'm gonna do the cloaks next because that's the next biggest part, the outdoor cloak. Then I'll do the inner cloak, then the guns, then the heads, and that's basically it. That's the nice thing about these models. There's not that many different parts, and then the backpacks as well. So with that, I'm gonna call it today, guys. It's been a long day of gaming, so I need to take a little bit of a break before Final Fantasy starts. So thanks everyone for tuning in. James, Ethno, thanks for your feedback. Tim, if you're still there, cheers. Heck on. Everyone else that tuned in, thanks so much. And I will check you guys. I believe on Thursday I'll be back. So check the stream schedule. It's in the Discord. You can join it for free, thankfully, like every other Discord. And the link is below in the Twitch about page and or on the YouTube. So